On the programme today, a rash of nappies lie in wait in a Preston alley.
God bless that little baby.
Some pest controllers go fishing for birds on a Gloucester rooftop.
We'll actually try and educate them that this roof is not safe.
And two street enforcers play bad cop in the battle of the butt ends.
Just witnessed you commit a littering offence. I'm going to give you a fixed penalty notice.
But first, the house that time forgot. In Ipswich, a team of extreme cleaners have arrived at a vacated council house. Until only a few days ago, it was home to an elderly man who has since died. It's the lads' job to clear it out and make it ready for a new tenant. But they have little idea just what's in store. Sam leads the way.
Wow. Blimey.
Look at the state.
Obviously, been quite a heavy smoker here, I think.
Filthy, isn't it? Years and years of cigarette smoke. Amazing.
The filth fighters spread out and embark on a journey of grimy discovery.
Oh, it's absolutely disgusting. Look at it. Filthy. How anybody can live like this, I don't know. Bring your ketchup.
I think they quite like fried food. You get this in houses where people fry a lot. It just coats basically the whole wall and all the surfaces. And there's something in the kettle as well. Oh, it was so heavy when I picked it up, I was sure it was full of water, but just lime scale. And we got this tea towel here, which I think has been permanently kept here, because underneath it's actually quite nice and clean.
Before clearing the house completely, the lads must now sift through the personal effects and keep anything of value for the family.
There's an unemployment book here from 1945-46. So just after the Second World War, someone was claiming unemployment benefit, and here's the card still, 64 years later. That's amazing.
Barry is a retired engineer, and for him, one discovery in particular is of interest.
Look at that, it's Meccano. One of the originals. Have a look at the bags.
Yeah.
Okay. And the instructions. This one's got a wind-up motor on it. That's really brilliant.
But the more they discover, the sadder the story becomes.
Oh yeah, a bit more of the same. Quite old and dusty.
Like the streets, I mean, they were clean at one time.
Barry identifies a thick layer of bedroom dust as human in origin,
Looks like dead skin.
while Sam gets a history lesson.
An old newspaper in here. Report to Churchill, direct from Moscow, 1955.
If this is his bedding, that's pretty revolting.
The deeper they dig, the grimier it gets.
Yeah, that's there a lot as well. That's just skin. The mattress up. And the buttons. More skin there, look.
Now Sam finds possessions that have remained untouched since long before he was born.
This is from a motorcycle shop, saying as from December the 1st, 1961, our Brantford Road branch will be closed. Still here, still on the mantelpiece. Amazing.
This man's obviously slipped through the net because nobody's looked after him. It's a terrible state to get to when you get old.
The assessment complete, it's time for action.
So I think we should better get this done today. But only if we crack on now, guys. Let's go.
In Preston, two enforcement officers, Gary Gibson and Paul Cookson, are returning to a fly-tipping hotspot. They soon make a depressing discovery.
This is the type of problem we're facing all the time. We do these clean-ups, we think we've won the battle, and then suddenly we come back and we find this rubbish all over the place. It's a never-ending saga, to be honest, and this is what we end up with. All we want people to do is just put stuff in a bin. Doesn't seem to work, to be honest.
The smell here is overpowering, but there's a job to be done, and only one way to do it.
It's obvious that whoever dumped it couldn't even be bothered putting it in black bags. A lot of it's just loose waste, decaying food matter, really horrible stuff to work with. Well, obviously this stuff is been standing stagnant for several weeks. As soon as we start to disturb it, that's when we get the odours creeping up.
Just look handy, the nappy's completely lost. And it's absolutely stinking.
Because we're bending over, shoveling amongst it, we get a face full of the smell. It's really lovely. Really enjoy it.
I mean, that's more nappies in there, and the weight in that is incredible. So that is an ill baby, that.
The alley is gated, which means some of the residents here, many of them transient, have been dumping on their own doorstep. Sadly, this veteran filth fighter has seen it all before.
There was an alleyway around about here. We used to have somebody who used to change their baby on the first floor, open the window and throw it out in the alleyway. And it was splattered all over the place. It was incredible.
For Gary, familiarity breeds contempt.
And it's just disgusting. If you look, you know, there's nappies all over the place. They're all soiled. It's horrendous. And then these people start whinging and moaning that they've got rats in their house. Well, of course you've got rats. What do you expect?
Bless that little baby.
Gary would love to know who did this, but first he must clear it up.
There is a lot of residents who care about this. Unfortunately, there's other residents who just couldn't care less. And that's the ones we're trying to target. If they're not going to listen, they go before the court and they listen to the court.
Back in Ipswich, the vacant council house is being cleared out. A look that's taken decades to achieve is about to be consigned to history in minutes. All the household items have been sorted, and everything no longer of value is now destined for the dump. South African-born Cedric was an engineering student and hadn't planned on becoming a filth fighter until Cupid struck.
Came as a student, studied engineer, and then I was deeply in love with this girl, you know, and I fell with this, you know, she just took my heart. And then I end up with her, and I forget all of everything about going to school. So, yeah, I'm in love.
Inside, the lads are on a roll, but they're disturbing decades of dust. And for Sam, this is no magic carpet.
Quite dusty, quite dirty, quite falling apart. Good to get it out of the way, really.
There's so much dust, you can't even take it, mate.
Carpet's out. It's time for a clean sweep.
Look at that. Looks like his beard.
While Cedric is counting brushstrokes, Barry is counting his blessings.
You're a driver for the day. You've got to get out in the fresh air, unfortunately.
Cedric needs some fresh air and a little light relief.
Come on, Bobby!
Sam knows the job won't get done by itself.
But if they want to do things like that, they can, but not really my cup of tea. Sometimes you have a whinge about your job, like everybody does, but then if it was meant to be fun, they wouldn't pay you to do it, would they? So you just got to get in and crack on and think of payday and think of when you go home at night.
Cedric has the perfect antidote to filth.
The only thing I just want to feel in love and forget about this place. Isn't it, Sammy?
Why?
Because, yeah, you know, when you're not in love, these places can make you mad. Smile.
I'm trying. I'm smiling on the inside.
Okay.
It might not be a grand design, but at least the house is ready for a makeover.
Finish.
And one team of trusty filth fighters head for grimy pastures new.
Getting a wheel spinning everywhere.
Every day across the UK, around 122 tonnes of cigarette litter is dropped, mostly in city centres. Cigarette ends are by far the most common form of litter, and in Chelmsford, they've had enough. Adam Webb and Claire Callan are two zero-tolerance enforcement officers.
Where we see littering offences, we will, as appropriate, take enforcement action.
And while Claire's doing all that, I'll take notes.
Litterbugs beware. These guys will hit where it hurts. Appropriate enforcement action means a £75 fine.
There's a gentleman on a bench down there who's sort of about to finish his cigarette, and hopefully he'll put it into a bin.
I think he's dropped it. I didn't see it. To take any action on an offence, we would need to actually see it.
I think he might have taken that with him, you know?
Yeah, I think he did. There's nothing there, is there? Believe it then, I think.
Last year, local authorities in the UK spent nearly £350 million on street cleaning and litter clearance.
A lot of people do a lot of small amounts of littering. Put all of that together and you've got a big problem.
Your cigarette butt you just put down there, would you mind popping that in the bin for me?
Yeah.
It's,
This man gets away with a warning, but others will not be so lucky.
There's a female just to my right who has just been recently smoking a cigarette. She's just dropped it to the floor, extinguished it with her right foot, but she's just left it there on the floor, but she's still in the vicinity, so she may well pick it up and just put it in a bin.
that's just blown away, so I'm happy with that.
Offence confirmed. It's time to move in.
Excuse me, madam. Hello.
Hello there.
Environmental health enforcement officers.
Yep.
Do you mind if I have a moment of your time? You just was smoking a cigarette a moment ago, and you stubbed it out, and it's just blown away down the street there, and you've left it, which is a littering offence. You don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention now when questioned something which you relate along or anything you do say can be given. I see somebody chuck a cigarette butt down, then that's great. I don't like to be standing behind somebody watching them dump their cigarette particularly.
You wouldn't see someone light up and then follow them for half a mile or however, 300 yards while they smoke it. Just don't do that. We don't stalk. Adam does.
You say I'm a stalker? That's very nice of you. I work with this woman. Brilliant.
A keen environmentalist, Adam got a taste for enforcement working in the prison service.
I don't mind doing it, really. I'm quite up for protecting the environment. Excuse me, madam. Hello. Hello. Sorry to bother you. I'm an enforcement officer from Chelmsford Borough Council Environmental Health. Just witnessed you commit a littering offence.
The message is clear. For those who don't dispose of their cigarette butts properly, the price of smoking has just gone up. Coming up, Gary shows how filth breeds more filth.
That's why we've got rats as big as cats.
A pair of pest controllers in Gloucester unleash their secret weapons. And Lewisham Council is fighting back in the graffiti wars. Back in the filthy, fly-tipped Preston Alley, the great clean-up is underway. Gary and Paul are finding some rather unsavoury items.
This is all food waste. Yeah, as it's food waste.
That's why we've got rats as big as cats. It's absolutely horrendous. You don't think that's cream soda in there, do you?
Well, I wouldn't like to taste it, to be honest. These are quite recent deposits in the alleyway, and hopefully some idiot resident has left some evidence in the bag for us to find.
This isn't just a clean-up operation. Gary and Paul are ex-policemen, and they know all about gathering evidence.
It looks like the letters that have just been totally ripped up. It's maybe a bit into two small pieces, but we'll take that, and with a bit of luck we can put it back together again. We'll see.
We quite often find things that might be useful, such as carpet cuttings. Obviously, we're going to start knocking on some doors and asking people if they know anything about the rubbish. If they've got a similar carpet to that in the hallway, brand new carpet, then they've got some questions to ask when we start looking at the offcuts that we've taken possession of.
This crime scene may be the result of the actions of only a few, but many are affected.
There's a lot of nice people living around here who are just fed up of this constant abuse of the alley.
This crime scene may be the result of the actions of only a few, but many are affected. The idea had been that by gating the alley, children could play here safely. Gary and Paul would love to see that happen, but they're not holding their breath.
To be honest, I've no doubt it'll happen again. There's no doubt in my mind. But what can you do? Just have to keep trying.
And there's another reason that fly tipping is a source of frustration.
It's a real shame when you look at a lot of the stuff that's going in those bins.
A lot of it could be recycled. Unfortunately, people don't want to, just take that little bit of time to do the recycling. It ends up in landfill. And this is what we're trying to get away from, really desperately trying to get away from putting stuff in landfill.
The sea of squalid residents' rubbish has been no picnic for Gary and Paul, but it's the taxpayer who'll foot the bill. As Gary resets the bins in hope, it's time for a quick once-over with a Preston feather duster.
That's how the alley should look, and that's how we would hope the alley will look when we come visiting in a week or so time.
Paul records the transformed scene, but he's not taking holiday snaps.
If any residents do say to us, oh, those bags have been there weeks, we can say, oh, no, it hasn't, I've got the picture. Oh, that's one of the 45 alleyways that we're currently monitoring. We're off to the other 44 now.
At best, graffiti can be an art form, but more often than not, it's just another form of urban filth. This latest effort in Lewisham has attracted interest, but not from the art crowd.
My name's Stuart Grant. I'm the graffiti team manager for Lewisham. We've had a report of a rather large amount of graffiti. This particular graffiti is just basic general vandalism. We've called the blast team out to come down and get rid of it as soon as we can.
And here comes the Lewisham blast team.
Julie Ball.
Victor Worsfold.
How long do you reckon that'll take?
About 10 minutes, mate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Julie Bourne, graffiti team supervisor, casts an expert eye over the problem and formulates her plan.
I'm going to put some liquid and gel on it to remove it, leave it on for about 5 minutes, and then we'll jet it off and it'll be gone.
Sometimes different colour spray paints, it seems to come off easier. Is it, what colours, there's silver, is it, that comes off?
I'd rather not tell them that because, they'll be putting the harder stuff on that we won't be able to, remove if someone sees
We could generally
program.
get rid of everything regardless of the colour, but we've heard that certain colours come off easier than others.
Manager Stuart is clear about his role in all this.
I think the best thing I can do is get out of the way and let them get on with actually doing the job.
So paste this on. So within about 5 minutes, we'll be able to blast it off. It's all environmentally friendly.
Julie is keen to tackle graffiti as soon as it appears, and there's a reason for it.
I think if you clean it off straight away, when you see it, it's like the younger, like the next generation that's coming up won't want to do it because they're not seeing it. Just going to leave that for 5 minutes and then we're going to jet it off.
As Julie waits for the chemical gel to do its stuff, her teammate Vic photographs it for the record.
At the moment, I'm just writing the address in.
This way, the police may be able to identify personal tags and arrest the vandal. Now Julie brings out her blaster. She soon shows that removing A, B and C is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Julie wanted to be an astronaut, but these days she deals with a different sort of tin can. Since the start of the campaign, 87 miles of graffiti have been removed from around the borough.
Nice and clean again.
Ooh, bet that feels good.
Because we're the best.
Job done. Sharpshooter Julie holsters her weapon. And Vic takes a final shot with his.
We're going to have a cup of coffee.
In Gloucester, there's some strange activity on a car park rooftop. 2 men have gone fishing, but there isn't a river in sight. Andrew and Gary are pest controllers, and today they're trying to deter seagulls.
The call is actually a seagull in distress. We fly the kite to give them the impression that this is a hawk that's attacking seagulls. The idea being that we'll actually try and educate them that this roof is not safe. We know it's a kite, but to them, it's a threat.
It's not exactly rocket science, or is it?
NASA use those kites to keep birds away from the rocket launch area.
But what's the problem with seagulls in the car park?
Drop-ins is the main problem, but they're picking a food source up from a landfill site which is not far away from us. They're walking around in bacteria-ridden waste. They head across this way, they're drinking the fresh water from here, they're paddling all over the place. If a child should fall, put the hand in something, then put the hand up to their mouth, that is quite easily botulism, salmonella, E. coli, very, very easily passed on.
Toxic droppings are not the only problem. These seagulls are vandals too.
If you look through there, can you see the broken pane of glass up on the far end? That's this. Male seagulls pick up pebbles. The bigger the pebble, the stronger the seagull, and actually drop them in water. And the bigger the splash, the more attractive to the females, allegedly. Well, unfortunately, this glass roof to a seagull looks very much like water, and they're dropping pebbles onto the glass and actually breaking the glass.
At £8,000 a pane, it's an expensive mating ritual. Having drawn the gulls' attention, it's time to teach them a lesson they won't forget in a hurry.
This is Noodly. He's a 6-year-old male.
The Harris's hawk is the most popular hawk in falconry. These birds are easy to tame and quickly develop an affection for their handler.
Basically, they're a natural predator, and they're big, bulky, and they frighten gulls.
This is the final enforcement. What we're going to do is we're just going to put one of the birds up and let them actually see that there is something that will hurt.
You can hear in the distance the gulls are calling. They know he's there now.
At the sight of the hawks, the seagulls have made themselves scarce, and now the lads can call it a day for now.
We can leave this now for another 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll be back again and just enforce it prior to the spring, when the birds start moving back into the air to try and nest on the roof and yet again start breaking.